wanted to transition into there's this system where, as the topic says, losing everything and finding yourself. In life, you get to be in a point where you have your back against the wall. Where you see like everything that is happening in your life, it's falling apart. It could be your relationship, go high, friendship, and at some point in life, at some point in life, you find yourself where things are falling apart, left, right, and center, and you have to battle some unknown demons, brought by different reasons. Stacey, starting with you, have you ever been in a situation like that? And if you can relate, what really expired in your life, or you had a situation, it has set you back in life, anything that could cause this, and what happened after that, and how did you transit to dealing with such things?
Okay. Interesting. Loaded question. And this transition, it just happened.
Yeah.
I'm gonna transit now. How I personally see life. Kele Aiseng. We live in a way, as people, we live with expectations of planning, of this is where I want to go. This is But what I perceive, life is more beautiful when you live in the present. Whatever's going to happen today is going to happen today. So I have that peace of mind. And answering your question, yes, I've had my setbacks, but I chose not to be harsh on myself. I found myself in a space where my setbacks was having to lose everything, in a sense of you find certain people being removed from your space, and during these times I'm going through the journey of my life. Can I not delve into details too much?
It's fine.
Well, I found myself in a space where now a lot of people are being removed from my life, and this removal, it didn't make sense to me. But I found myself not having the nudge or that feeling of I want to communicate or maybe engage a lot of energies, and which is something in the beginning I never understood what was happening, but I was finding myself in a space where now I'm more alone with myself, So I started to embracing the fact that there aren't a lot of energies in my space anymore. And I find myself now in a space with more myself. And then I'm still going through the traumas and the challenges from the past. And you understand now when everybody is moved away from your space, you are alone. And you still have those traumas. So the only way is to continue the journey, which is this new journey now. I'm beginning to spend more time with myself. And during that period, I think that's when I find the higher power, whether it's God, whether it's the ancestors, whether it's Muhammad, it doesn't matter. So now, because I'm alone, and now I'm finding this higher power coming closer to me, now I'm spending more time with this higher power, God, and now it's becoming this beautiful journey because I have time now to say, hey, Creator, thank you for today. I can give gratitude on a single day because I don't have to wake up saying, be on a conversation, let's have it for 3 hours when I wake up. But when I wake up, first thing I can do is to kneel down and give gratitude before I even start with my day. It means now when I wake up, instead of spending time doing that, I can spend my time now doing my affirmations, for the day. Like I mentioned, trying to live as present as we can. For me, that has been the main thing about life. Because today has its own details, has its own activities. They are going to happen. Eventually, you're going to go through that. So I found myself into that space where now it also begins with me and the inner person with me. So my affirmations are important to remind myself that I deserve, to remind myself that I can still love myself, to remind myself that I'm grateful for this and this and this and this and this. I think that's how far I would go, and it became such a beautiful journey. Because now the more I do this, the more I improve, the more I get better, the more life sort of becomes bearable. Because if I'm only focusing on the present, it means there isn't really enough time to okay, Motlatsi did this to me 10 years back. Tsepo hurt me in this way, and I found myself automatically beginning to forgive myself. I find myself now to saying, okay, now I see you are healing. Now you are becoming a better person. Now, that's how I would say I, battled with the challenge that I've had. Things don't really work out, but that's how far I would go. Self-improvement, becoming a better person. For me, it's the only way to get over everything. And making sure that, or trying your level best to make sure that your mind, or my mind specifically, it's in the right space. How to react when this happens. Because of aloneness. Not lonely, but aloneness. Now I'm enjoying my space more. Now I feel more like myself. Now I'm more happier. Now I'm more content. Now I'm more focused. So battling challenges. And without taking long, with regards to what Dr. Motlatsi was sharing just now, all of these people that we have shared the podcast with, definitely pick up something. I'll give you examples. The episode that he mentioned, Nubia and the next Poison, their conversation was so beautiful. And when they were chatting about loss, I could relate to that. I mean, I lost my mom back in 2023, and sometimes we deal with loss differently. So listening to them, sharing their experiences about loss and how it relates, or maybe how it shaped them into becoming better people, that also helped. Having a chat with tape about giving back to the community, which he mentioned in episode 5. Tembile, his creative process, his writing process. Luke, how he changed, how he got to call himself Luke. So all those experiences, sharing those experiences with those people, there's always something that you can pick. Bring Masalu. A very, 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 very positive-minded person. Very positive. So I would say, even with this Plaque Souls has also helped with regards to dealing with a whole lot of things.
Yeah, wow, man, wow. So I know that we had a discussion earlier today. One of the things that you pick up, that when you find yourself, was even the food of you were eating. You started changing the type of food that you were eating. Eating more organic food. That's nice. I think that's great. That's great. That at some point in life, the negative energy, they weigh us down. They weigh us down, and they take the better part of you. And having going through that and learning to say, look, man, this thing, as much as I see as a good thing to me, overall it's bad thing, and I need to move away from it. That's great, man. That's great. Mr. Motseki,
that is,
can you relate?
Yeah, I can relate. Because now I have to go back just to give you a glimpse of my childhood. I lost my dad when I was 6 years old. So, and it's someone he spent not much of a time with. But I do have certain memories, because they were never married and whatsoever, but he was present. So, like, that's basically that. So the bond is inseparable. So growing up under her wing most of my life, if not all of my life. And obviously you get to have the attributes so I'll guide there and there most of the time, but I'm a man. There are certain things that I'm hardly understand, especially as a boy child. So in my life, I got to meet good male singers for Shego that. So I think that was 2004. And mind you, good male singers, we have different type of age groups. About Waspana, Banava School, Mahalela, all the different people from different walks of life. So good male singers, what we do, the conductor, the late Mr. Montedilibaki, sometimes we'll feel up for Fanaro on a session, and we'll sit down and talk like this.
Yes.
Wow. Give us game. Wow. Go good male singers. So at that moment when I take a look at it, I will say, gentlemen, in Nagana Sepa Sekapa.
Wow.
Tempa Spana, where am I? Where Nadita? Wamurwa was a car. Why can they feel this funny? Hot man, it's all. Wow. It will be that conversation, like mainly conversation. This are men. Wow. I can excessive election. Okay, how do we deal with that? Like all those, that's open book. Wow, and will be share as men. Aside of music, aside of art, aside of us entertainment, like there will be that specific days. Learn up whether the experience and for the challenges, so what. Then guys, they'll do all of it. Like it will be that beautiful conversation. I'm like you are refreshed. I'm like 15 at a time. 14, 15. I'm still young boy, man. It's like I'm still adolescent stage. So they understood that and they would group us with the certain people. Like it would organically happen. So then I will get sharp. This is how a man handles himself. This is how you become a man. This is how you walk. This is how you talk. This is how you keep a facial expression. This is what you do. When you this all of those things. Then that thing, the language changes.
Yeah.
Our language changes in terms of how do you conduct yourself when you meet other people. Because some people even to this day they say, "I'm gonna like a blog, like because now that and the leadership qualities in the journey for most of us who were there, they still like that. So that was a period like for my teenage years, I was there most of the time. That would be singers, being a hot man, like-minded. Like I standard 18 and 10, like I would get bored easily. Go school because now I cannot relate mostly because all those things like how you guys are challenged, because now you say like-minded people, but at the same time I still need to tap into my childish behavior because I'm still a child and I can make it whatever boys do. So that has been significant. So when I lost these people, I'm going to talk about two specific people. There was this guy who could make singers who adopted me. Adopted in terms of there was a certain era in my life for my like mom and I tried to find a space. So yellow. Adopted like so what
wow.
Okay. For me, years I never talk about 7, 8. Food. I'll do biology. Mind you, man, I'm gonna give the reading, so I'm already encaved. So like okay, sure. Who'd mic me? Like you can do that like 3-4 hours, that man. Mind you, Camila is getting Camila is funny. And we spend time just to make sure for an I'm not distracted. I do all of that. Then and this is a person who meeting over quietly. He took a liking into me, and I want you buy me stuff like all those things. Like I can see us go and I'm gonna mentor you.
Yeah.
Then we'll do that. So when you lose, then our it's like a few years back. I think around 2016, 15, accident that over Namsagara. So when you lose this type of people, what have you learned from them? Okay, focus. to focus. That I can mute my mind out of all the distractions and check the end goal for the So that's one element they get learning for me. What I've learned from Montpellier and a good male singer, so humility. Humble yourself. Humble yourself. I want you do this, you do this, you do this. These are how men, the gentleman shakes hands. This is like the whole male thing because so known as becoming a gentleman. And when he sees me being a gentleman, that do coach karate, you address a person as a gentleman, a gentleman, gentleman. I go coach karate, you sorry. So all those that now you get to when you meet a gentleman, learn how I want to fire. So all those things on how to conduct yourself as a person. That's what I learned from him. Leonard lost his life through an accident. Wow. So when I lost my mom, who's been part of my life, I didn't even cry.
God rest her soul.
God rest her soul. And I witnessed her take a last breath. She took a last breath when I get out in the heart. Like, you know what? You did really good. I saw my mom gave birth to me. I was there when he gave birth to me. And life cycle, when she lost her life physically, I was there. So that life cycle. And people were like, we never saw you cry. Even at the last day, farewell, you were very joyous, very singing. People were very worried about me. Man, you're too close to this person. You're supposed to be crying. You're supposed to lose your mind. All these things, I was different because I programmed my mind like, how would she love to see me like?
Yeah, no, that is...
So that thing. So now you go to more losing everything. That's what's losing and transition. Transition period don't know last when now when everything is until a bit subsided, I get to reflect. That's when it hit me the most. Wow. That's when now I need a psychologist.
When is this?
My mom, 2005, April 2022.
Yeah.
Late in the year, around November, so like something different. Now, I feel like the void. Because you can say I was avoid out to deal with that. So people are like, yeah, why I avoided anything. So whenever I got space to really digest all of these things, that's when I'm like, damn it. I'm really in pain. I need to grieve. So through the grieving period, that's when I met Heike Mendelssohn, who's my therapist, through Facebook. And then he helped me through the grieving process and whatnot. Now I'm very selective about the energy that I choose to be around. So that has been the transition. And him being a Muslim, then I started to tap into Islamic behaviors and principles and whatsoever. So the way the Islam then I take everything from there, like, you know what? I can incorporate this in my life. I can incorporate that in my life. Nice. I can choose when to pray. I pray like 5 times. Every prayer is different. What do you want to do? What do you want to do? How to conduct yourself? Okay, when it's Ramadan, I went to the Ramadan with them. So it's a fasting period. So the fasting period, we get the affirmations. What each and every day in a specific task. So it's like a focus, for me. And now I'm a word, and I need to treat myself as a gentleman. They don't get tempted. But considering all of those things. So no last, when you have a woman, focus on her. All this entertainment, but the danger. So you know what? Can make it the temptations are can make it one Zwino knows this. I give it. No, I want all of those things. And I give my say to Lamundi comes in. Now you can block all these things. Because the causes are in distraction. How to block this? We get to be able to focus. Because this is something that the end goal here. And there's a verse in the Bible, Genesis 19, verse 20. Kasutwere. Klohamo ha motseng ho hobane ke sita ho etsa so feel.
Yes.
Wow. So the backstory is before Gomora and Sodom. So bana ba Nohe modimo na sa batle for ne Gomora e kopanele ko Nohe le nne party ya that Sodom. Wow. So he instructs him for Twahada because there are certain things that will from about bonsa boholo baka kawe. But for as long as it's not gonna happen. So sometimes we have to leave certain things so that you can be your better self.
Yeah.
So that incorporated into the transition of which is something I believe I'm doing consecutively as well. If that answers the question.
Yeah.
I would like to get your view.
Yeah.
His way of dealing with mom's loss. Do you think it's important for, especially Rona, the Africans, to get counseling, especially after the loss?
Yeah. Our form of counseling is different from the Western type of counseling.
Yeah.
You know,
tell us more.
When people talk about counseling, they think you need to go see psychiatrists, psychologists. But from the books that I read, listening to African proverbs and all those people, I think the best form of counseling in an African context is dealing with pain. I think this is gonna come to my losing everything and getting myself. You know, when you go to AA meetings, the first thing that they say, in order for you to go through all this transition, there's one important thing. That first step is to accept that you are an alcoholic. They're emphasizing that if you don't accept you are an alcoholic, that 7 steps they set you for you to deal with alcoholism. Because once you admit, you'll admit that I made mistake because of alcohol.
Yeah.
So if you don't admit that you are an alcoholic, and then the next thing, you had an accident because you drove drunk, you won't admit that you had an accident because you drove drunk. You're going to blame the car, you're going to blame someone hitting you. You understand? So the first form is to accepting that you are an alcoholic. Yeah. So in our African point of view, when it comes to dealing with especially grief, the most important thing that they would do is they would take you to the grave of the person that you're grieving, so that you would see this is where this person is lying, is laying. The second thing they would do is you need to believe that not the Western part, but the African context. This person is not dead.
Yeah.
They just transitioned from one area to the other, and they are still with you. You understand? You talked about, I think it was Exquisito, who was had communication with someone who passed in his life. You understand? That reincarnation, that's another thing that they install in the African context. It's just that the Western culture has taken that out of our African context, you know. So our form of counseling, it's totally different. And once you have believed and you have seen that, look, my mom is dead, you know, as Motlatsi, as my mom has passed away, I think 12, 13 years ago. You know, accepting that she is no longer there. I want to say this. Her presence is no longer there, but she is with you. That's why they visit you. You know, I live in my great grandmother's house. Sometimes when I get home and I sleep, she comes in. You know, her spirit is still in the house because this is the house that she grew me up. You know.
Yeah.
So I hope that answered the question. So from my point of view, when you talk about losing something and gaining yourself, I think the most important thing that I say I've lost, you know, before gaining myself, I have lost myself. You know, how so? Thanks for the question.
Yeah.
Look, when Motlatsi knows me, and we had a discussion, I think, a couple of weeks back when we met. I loved reading. I did not just read, man. I read to an extreme level that a book of about 100 pages, I would read it in one day. You know, I would get 5-6 books. Go library. This is how I lost myself. You come from home, you are able to read, you come to the big city. And then you've been overwhelmed with all these things. You know, you have work, you have social life, you have this, you have that. And then all of a sudden, the things that you love doing, one by one, they start getting out of you. You know, you stop reading. The world changes. The world changes, you know. And the world changes in a most drastic way, you know. Your language, because now you are in a multicultural area. Go high, I grew up in Motlatsi. You know, I came to learn that in the later stage. Actually, Motlatsi, you know, but as much as in the Motlatsi, Babua Sotho, and Sotho, someone say fluent and accent is the same as Yabasotho. But they practice their own culture. You know, Pamadins are what they do their cultural folklore.
Yeah.
You know. So coming here and meeting different people, we're talking about Zwino here. Zwino is a vendor person. You know, I met the Zulus, I met the Changas. I even have friends from Mozambique and Zimbabwe. You know, and in a context of losing yourself, when you got your social life, it's so overwhelming that you stop thinking about important things. I stopped reading. I stopped doing research. I would do research about anything and everything. That's why I say I'm his own personal encyclopedia. You know. Yeah. But coming here, I think I've lost all of that. You know, I think that was the worst thing that happened to me. You know, because now social media information has been omitted. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
You know. When you, for example, go to Basotho culture, you go Google the Basotho lineage in social media, they're going to take it from Mushweshu. And the people that I haven't read a book, it was written by a missionary, Engelberg, you know, where he was writing a book about the African culture. You know, after he published the book and he went out for people to comment, they told him that you took the Basotho culture in the middle. The Basotho culture doesn't start at Mushweshu. That's why he started the Basotho culture. And the most important thing that he did on the Basotho culture was the Fatani War, which is the later culture. That's part of our culture, even though it happened in the 1700s, 1800s. But according to history, that's part of our history.
Yeah.
You know. So all those things out of the window. You know. I remember I said we have this conversation with you. I took book out of war from him and so yeah. So I have like I said, the first rule of AA is acceptance. I have accepted already. You know what? I have lost myself. You know, and for the fact that I have accepted that I have lost myself, I have now realized already I need to gain myself. Okay, who was you? Who are you?
Yeah.
That's the first question that you need to ask. Who are you? Who do you used to be as a person that you say, this is for me? I'm the person who loved to read. That's the person. So I took all the books that I had. The books that we bought. Matsidi Sotale.
Yeah.
What is the name of the book?
Something about documentary.
Yeah, Unfolding the Documentary. Yeah. You know. All the books that we had. I took a book, Sansugo, and all the other books that I had at home. I remember one of the other things. My my uncle's wife was part of Reader's Digest. We used to get Reader's Digest books. I used to read a lot of this. They were fiction books, you know, but I used to love reading them, you know. And that part of finding myself, you know, where you transitioning. For that, one other distraction was social media. Social media is social media is you know, it was very distracting. I told Motlatsi, or I told you even when I yesterday. Recently, I decided to deactivate one of my social media account, you know, because it was consuming most of my time. Yeah. The time that you're supposed to be spending studying, you there commenting on, how to be honest, useless things. You get what I'm saying? As much as it's entertaining, you scroll through the videos, they are entertaining, but they're not educational. You get we are houting the most perpetuated videos are the robberies and hijacking and the heist. So you go through that and it's like, in the past 15-20 minutes, I've watched like 7 videos of hijacking. What am I learning? Am I gonna do the education transit heist? So this is why. I was telling Zwino, I don't know, I was telling Zwino Motlatsi that's one of the reasons that I don't think artificial intelligence is more that intelligent as they've put it, because artificial intelligence goes through what they think you like by what you check on the social media. If you check one video, and sometimes this video you come across it by default because I get it, it's crawling, it's there. If you come across a video, BMW advert, and all of BMW advert, and then you just watch it, and you happen to miss 2 minutes, to watch it for over 2 minutes. Automatically they think you love cars, and you get flashing of these videos that go. So that's why I'm saying AI is not as much as intelligent as it used to be. So the most important thing, finding myself, that is getting back to where I used to be. Studying and reading, you get what I'm saying, and trying to because now the social media, the platform, I see the social media platform, there are too many of them. You have a lot, and one of the other things that I personally realized that, like, you don't need 7 accounts, where you find out you're spending 4 hours on a social media. You're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and all of a sudden, I remember I did this. I watched this when I was studying. I was like, I look at my time, because I would study when after work, either in the morning, early hours of the morning, or after work. So when I check, like I would set myself for, let's say, 3 hours. I want to study 1 chapter in 3 hours. When you check, you open the first chapter, you didn't even skip that page. You've been on the social media for that time. 4 hours has passed. You didn't grasp anything. You didn't grasp anything. And this is your career. Career based on the studies. So the biggest thing that for me was finding myself was one of the things that I needed to cut. Honestly, it's a social media, which on its own is addictive, guys. It's very difficult for me to press that deactivating button. Was like, but I can do this too. I postponed it for a couple of days. Honestly speaking, I postponed it for a couple. First and foremost, I postponed it for a month. Like, let me wait for soccer season to end. I will do it after soccer season. Soccer season ended. There was still a final year NetBank. I'll do it after the final year NetBank. Final year NetBank ended. I was like, I'm still gonna do it. That's how addictive it is. That's how addictive it is. And it brought back to what Karabo was saying, that actually we are living in a matrix world, because everything that we do, we have to get it from social media. It seems like they're controlling our lives. So not all of them are deactivated. There are some are still there. You might find my post here and there sometimes. And I'm trying to reduce as much as I can. As much as I can.
All right. Coming in terms of Africans, remember through the period, as by discover that day. Through that row before all Kapiswa. Meaning so that mourning period, one as Africans, you get advice from the elders, you get surrounded by elders, you get surrounded by this type of wisdom, so that through that grieving process, no grieving process, but 3 days. Like 3 days leave. After more, go back to work. They haven't processed everything. So, but because of Africa, people take a month to 3 months through grieving process alone. So you are guided with this information, you are guided by these guides, you are guided by everything, so that the pain has somehow subsided. And now we get to deal with the acceptance. That's the thing. Because acceptance is not just a way, it's how we acknowledge. It's a process. So through that process, you're on a way the elders they will take you to mountains, they will do everything, they will disturb this, for this reasons, so whatever those things, those guaranteed of roads, but Africa, say, how does this person get to escape? Then it's in Yaman, how to catch all the Slamabella. That's a Slamabella, hitting Yano Sanzo, and Slamabella, so all those things were a form of cleansing or cancelling, even for men as well. So then we'll take you through all those processes slowly but surely. It's very same thing. Each and everything and the processes are in our conductor. So after 3 months, 4 months, whenever family decided for them, then we are removed. But you still acknowledge the presence, the spiritual, so the one who has descended. So I wanted to touch on that just to
there's a beautiful information that we're sharing now. To happen to the loss, because your question was losing everything and finding self. And based on what we have, all the three of us shared, the biggest loss is losing those values. Because if Kimamela and Motlatsi, he shared her story yellow. Like, okay, when things go sour, where do I go back? To what yellow taught? And now you sharing your story as well. What did you lose? The reading. The you. So, how I am understanding everything is like laws, give the value.
Yes.
What you believe in. Personally, the wisest man I've known, the greatest man I've known, that was my grandfather. Mind you, my grandfather was somebody who was always ailing wherever he went. Wherever he went. He was always ailing. Not on time.
Ailing.
Always ailing.
Secondly,
he went to church every Sunday. Thirdly, he never drank alcohol. He wasn't smoking. And he loved his wife. So, one particular example that he used to ask me is, I say, where are you see? Like the shop of the quit. So where where are you see? That's one particular example that I remember about my grandfather. So my statement is, it seems as if loss, apart from the loss of a lost one, but losing everything, from example storytelling between the three of us, I am understanding the biggest loss is losing your values. I mean, going back to Melo. When things doesn't go right, like, okay, I need to focus. Is it yellow or mellow?
Yellow.
Go back to Melo.
Yellow.
So now, how easy it is, or what makes us lose those values? You mentioned social media. Or, you're supposed to study for 4 hours. I'm going to check if before you know it, 4 hours is gone. So apart from social media, which I believe in a huge weight into a lot of people losing themselves. I don't know if I'm phrasing it right.
No,
because TikTok can you can literally finish 5 hours sitting on TikTok, literally. So apart from social media and entertainment, what would you say that it's the biggest influence into us losing our values. I think what we mean by losing everything, we actually refer to losing values. Because growing up, you never used to sit on TikTok.
Yes.
You'd rather study than sit on TikTok. What is the biggest thing that you think makes us lose our values? Our values, they make us. This is what I was taught. I grew up with this. I end up losing this. Now I feel like I've lost myself.
Before you add this, we are closing, right?
Okay.
On that, add this. What is it that we need to do? Sorry?
Not really.
What is it that we need to do to go back to that moment before we lost ourselves?
So it's two questions.
Yeah.
The first thing, fifth element of hip hop, KOS, knowledge of self. If you don't know yourself, you can never know where you're coming from and where you're going.
Where you going?
But how do you know yourself?
How do you know yourself?
Let's start there.
Yeah, I'm going there. Ne? So a knowledge of self is an umbrella. How do you know yourself? You'll never know yourself if you never spend time with yourself. You'll never know yourself if certain people from different walks of life. You know, now different people, they'll tell me, for now, I've lost my calling. Because why not teach it? Different people will tell me, no, what's up is we teach you. Well, like, really? Yeah, teacher, all of those things, whatever that they might see. So there's a certain line, no, never doing. That's what that manga said. They can see it, they can smell it. You are it, but you cannot feel it. So knowledge of self comes from setting an element. It makes you different from others.
Nice.
So you were born through that. And say for why do I make it? So you can incorporate how do you know yourself? It's one thing. But how do you know yourself? It's that inner man inside of you that speaks. Whatever the passion inside of you, it flames. Because not we are making a joke for when you got here, my brother. One thing I said that used to do before anything. Because that is an innate thing, but it's uncontrollable. It's something for So how do you identify it? By practicing it.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
So this is how you know yourself. That is why I go school, or in most schools or in most scouts, there will be talent scouts. They will go back share for and other teachers who are so good will tell you stop
Not you.
You must stop wasting your time.
Yeah.
Now, so there are people who are able to identify the men inside of you. But the men inside of you, you cannot make night. But as a child, you don't know how to do that. You don't know how to do that. So you need a certain person with a speciality to identify that.
Yeah.
So that's how somehow you get to know yourself.
Okay.
And when you dwell in it. Yeah.
So would you say, because now I can say that what you're saying is getting interest in this way. I agree with you, how do you know yourself? And everybody has had an experience like that. I say you need to become a pastor, you need to become a priest, you need to become a motivational speaker. Okay. So now, how can you be, because how hola, right? You are finding yourself, right? You are finding yourself. And you are being identified by the world. You should become this. You should become a teacher. And then you also mentioned that you need to ignite who you are, right? So when do you know that this is who I am? And going back to loss again, right? When do you know this is who I am? Because we are beings, we are human beings, right? It means we are always growing and learning. Because I don't know if Kesa says that when do you know this is who I am? Because we started off by saying losing self to find self. And you said you need to know yourself, right? When do you know this is who you are? Because subject area today is losing ourselves. How do we know that this is?
When you tap into that thing, for that's why. Like for example, Dr. Umar said, 90 years, I think now K2. That African history, it was even like that in him. And the time I started tapping into that the historical thing about Africa, and now he's one of the most Pan-Africanists. That's when I didn't hear that it was ignited. Now you tap into it. Or tap in the more you know, you can realize for a year, man. There's my purpose. This is something that I have to push. You know it by being it, by tapping into it.
Okay.
Yeah. And what will make you distinctly different? Some people will just join, Lola say you can all rap. Can rap group, but there will be someone who for there. Maybe Trian will be more better than all of us because it's something in line with his path. That's when you get to know yourself. And how do you find yourself when you've lost it? The gift never shares away from you. No less people are criticizing like 103,000 because they know for this flute thing it may be another level of but you know you are gifted right again. That guy just need to drop one verse, 4 lines, it will destroy the whole rap. Because that's how gifted it is. No, that's okay, now I'm tapping to other dimensions. I still need to get the cloak. Something off. So I'm telling you, when that man gonna rap again, it will be a bomb. Because now he's going back to something that people have identified in him. And alone, he's not shying away from it because the first song on that album, Flute, I tried to rap. Because now that's idea for what. Of it is something that has to be united. But once he's getting into to that, him finding himself in that moment. So that's how you find yourself. By getting back to it. The biggest Eminem critique, Corona, he has outgrown the Slim Shady. But people still want Slim Shady because that Slim Shady is something that people identify the most. So that's something like, okay, I've outgrown this Slim Shady thing. And it's really something Slim Shady like, and the world knows going crazy. Because they're like, yo, you are great. But then once you tap into Slim Shady thing, you are awesome. So you are bound to find this so it's a continuous thing, never for how you take yourself. And losing yourself, I wouldn't say it's a lose in those formative examples that I made. It's being able to branch out to other things that for there you are bound to get into.
Totally get you.
So I hope that answers the question.
I say on your closing remarks, let's see. You adding on this.
It's getting deeper.
No, it's a beautiful conversation. It's a beautiful conversation because your knowledge and how you, I don't know, I am understanding you. I read somebody, I don't know who, I can't remember like specifically, but he said I had to stop music. I had to stop making music for 4 years, branch out to business. Not that I can't write anymore, I can't rap or I can't sing, but I had to stop music for 4 years and go into Joe Thomas. I think it was Joe Thomas. Like I had to stop music for a certain period of time and establish my business.
Into business.
By the end of the day, he's still a musician. He's still a writer. On the same laws thing, I'm loving this conversation so much, so much, because finding yourself, it's the ultimate goal, I'm hoping you can read now. And I know what to buy you now.
Yes.
So I was at a James
No.
It's a book.
It's a book. Listen, I thought it's simple. I think the simplest book that I ever read, not that it's not great, it's the greatest book. The storyline, it's Motlatsi has read, also read it. Unfolding the documentary,
Yes, it is.
is the simplest book ever. Simplest. It doesn't have any equations, it's a straight storyline, But
Amazing fiction.
the turnaround of the storyline from the beginning to the end, shit.
Wow.
You realize when you read the last chapter that actually this is the beginning. What I read when I opened the book, that is the end. This is the beginning.
How it's written.
It's simple, like I'm saying, it's simple, but the turnaround, So why I'm saying this is because it's the simplest. When your mind is out, when you are readers, guys, you understand what I'm saying. When your mind is out of the game for reading, it's not like in sports where once you get your body warm, it's all system go. With sports, once I hit the gym, my first 30 minutes is warm up. Once my body is warm, everything is up and running. Now I can go as high as I know myself. With reading, it's not like the mind doesn't work like that. You can read 10 books, but you won't have that edge or I can still want more. No, you're gonna take a lot of time and that patience and all those things, because we have a lot of things. We have music on this. We have that. We literally living in the area where the sound doesn't stop, where you have a sound 24/7, and that sound disturb. We learned this in high school. That when you want to read, you can't have a sound in library.
You can't,
because you need a focus in order for you to read. So finding myself in terms of reading was to going back to the simplest book, which was Motlatsi book, and I still recommend that. Go and read that book. I don't know if you have read it. I have copy. I can borrow you that.
Please.
I'm going to borrow you that copy. And after reading it, I think the Art of War is more in depth than Motlatsi book. So after reading tipping into the Art of War, I've read it, but now I'm reading it in a very, very different form. I want to go back and read all the books that I read. Wow. Now I'm reading them in a different concept of how I read them when I was young. My favorite books, I'm watching the movies that I already watched, more especially the movies that are more educational, more insightful, not your Rambo guns. That was, So I'm tapping that. Finding myself is in that. We were having discussion in Motlatsi, what is this movie? Prison, Shego Redemption. And there's one thing that he watched the movie, he didn't notice it. I noticed it after I watched it after a couple of times, that in the movie there's only one black person. And that person is telling you that I'm the only guilty person in Shego, the prison. So now that on itself, it's finding yourself. Where is a black person in the modern day society? Taking back into our conversation, where is the black person in the modern society? And like we said, in one of those topics, we are the elders right now. We are the one that needs to keep the education that our forefathers has given us. And how would I teach myself, my children, about themselves if I don't know myself? That's what I'm saying. The best thing, I'm supporting what Motlatsi say. The best thing of you finding yourself is to be yourself. That's what I get in. What I've realized with what identifies you? First, people.
True.
The language itself, it identifies you. Because when you meet Zwino as a vendor speaking person from Limpopo, he can relate to, this person comes from this side. You understand? So, and there's this concept in Gauteng that every Sotho speaking person is from Lesotho. The Free State part is thrown out of the equation. Every Sotho speaking, and I always have that argument with people like, it's all Sotho man. So how do you identify yourself? I've tried my utmost best. We're doing this in English, yes, for obvious reasons, because now we have a broader viewship where some of them Sesotho have a suit to that fullest. You understand? But when you interact with people on the street, the first thing is and I need to project Busuthu baka to whoever I meet, so that even if I was that's the first thing you need to find yourself. And the second thing that right now I have realized and I have embraced is my culture. The Basotho culture, the Patsabadin, Borapelabadin, all those things, Just to give you a little background, I grew up in a family where Christianity dominated our life. Like, literally, Christianity dominated our life. I was raised by 4 grandmothers. Great-grandmother, 3 grandmothers. Great-grandmother, 2 great-grandmothers, and 2 grandmothers. Great-grandmother from my grandfather's side, great-grandmother from my grandmother's side. You understand? These are the people that raised me. My grandmother, my grandmother's sister. You understand? And then you can include my mom, because I met my mom, firstborn So now the advantage I had was my grandfather, Kila's born, my great-grandmother, you understand? So for that's why I'm named after my grandfather's brother, the firstborn, my grandfather, Jonas the Papa. Jonas the Papa, I always tell people, that's not my name, that's my ancestor's name. You get what I'm saying? And then when you get to that point that you need to find yourself, those are the first people that I reflect to. You start going to their graves more. You used to go to their graves, Kadi Mother's Day fair, Kadi Christmas Day fair. Now every chance you get, you understand? So that's what you tapping back into your culture. You starting believing in who you are and what you are, and this is who we are. And Buffett, I'm gonna tell you is the truth. The same people that I'm saying are my ancestors. That's the people that grew up as in Christianity, that they never did anything with our traditional beliefs. Truly honest speaking. I was telling Motlatsi that in my family we are Roman Catholics, and if you know the Roman Catholic Church, everything about them is brainwashed. There's a video I saw last week here, Dr. Lumumba, where he said he was addressing the African religious leaders around Africa. So the party said he was telling them about this church, where are they from, and why were this church created. I'm gonna be specific on the Roman Catholic Church because the Roman Catholic Church, they were so brave in Christianity that they named their church the Roman Catholic Church. Even if it's in South Africa, it's still a Roman Catholic Church. Even in Uganda, it's still a Roman Catholic. Even in Nigeria, and this is true. This is the truth. The first thing I would say, if you will meet as Catholics, I would say, I'm a Roman Catholic Church from Holy Ghost in Brantford. You get what I'm saying? But first and foremost, it's a Roman Catholic Church. And we are not Romans. It opened my eyes like, wow. He was addressing the African leaders. But remember the type of the Christianity we are so embracing was pushed for our oppression. But I was not there. I'm here. That one of the greatest things was tapping into my culture. You finding yourself. That's when you start to see actually, this is my true belief. This is my true belief. You get what I'm saying? I'm gonna say something that some people, especially with they're gonna find it a bit awkward. I have stopped going to church. I go to church, but I've stopped literally believing in the Western God and Jesus. God does exist. God does exist. And one of the books that I read, in all the books that I read, was Venus Rising. Venus Rising tells you about how Africans believed in God and ancestors and how this layer was built. God has always been there. Just that the white people, they just shifted from us praying our God through our sisters.
Yeah.
And then they told us, no, you can talk to this guy, a straight man. Why do you need what should you? And then we start telling our people, what should you understand? And then that's what what is the word? Indoctrinated into our forefathers who did the same to us. And if you check right now, most people right now, they start going back to their culture.
Sunk off.
Exactly. And in our naive culture, we starting to insult them. We black people, we start to insult them. I don't have problem with that because I know the insult of miss you saying how he pay me because it's black, the color because it is white. It was indoctrinated into us. Or I need to love somebody else and hate one of my own. You get what I'm saying? But you check right now, we are going back to who we are, and the African people are going to take their African culture back. So the biggest thing that I'm saying from my point of view, this is my closing, guys. The biggest thing I'm saying from my point of view, finding myself was also finding my culture and practicing my culture, Kafu force. Sure.
Okay, quick one. So you lost yourself and you found yourself, and you are maintaining that. How are you now? How are you in terms of you found yourself? Finding your culture again fills the void.
Yeah.
Less social media. How are you is in the whole space after realizing that I lost myself due to Christianity, now I need to find my culture back? How are you in terms of reading more now, detoxing social media? How are you now with what are you doing now instead of social media? So I just want to know how are you maintaining that to make sure that you don't lose yourself again.
Yeah. In terms of reading, I focus more on studies than reading. The difference, studying is more intensive because you have to focus and remember what you read, what you studied. Other than reading, when you read a fiction, you can just read it one time. It's a fiction story. You read it one time, you'll get the story after you read it.
Right.
So unlike studying, when you study quantum physics, it is questions that are serious that you focus. So in terms of that, it has given me advantage of being focused.
Right.
Being more focused with my reading, with my studies. I finished my I'm waiting for my qualifications. I finished my operations management studies recently. And then in terms of removing social media, like I said, there are a lot of them. So I remove some, and as much as I still have some apps, I'm trying to spend less time on them.
Right.
Your TikTok and stuff. I'm trying to spend less time on them as a matter of in the long process. Just though we still need them because as much as they're entertaining, we still have the serious part where it is educational. Where is the educational? One of my colleagues we were talking about on TikTok was talking about the teachings of Dr. Lumumba, and how great he is. And that's one of the people that you need to follow. I'm following Motlatsi, educational teaching like Kemet and all those things and the background that they, So it's getting there. It's hard, but it's getting there.
Yeah.
Bit by bit, it's getting there. The one that I'm focusing too much right now is LinkedIn. It's more professional based, the work related and all those things. So that's the most where now I'm spending most of the time.
Yeah, now how did I find myself? I just had to remove myself from all the noises that are surrounding me. I wasn't so I have a, this morning I was checking to check out, call logger. I can speak to like 65 people consecutively. And I have over close to 800 contacts
On your phone.
on my phone. Damn! But I speak to 5 people consecutively. So, yeah, I can mention them, please. I speak to Zwino, I speak to Aiseng Molutsi, then
That's fine.
poison, exquisite, and that's more like it, almost or something. Like it's less than 10 people writing on a more regular basis.
Same question.
Unless it's a work related, but I'm spanning
Which is
gonna form.
I'm interested in that so much that because for me it has a similarity with my experience that a lot had to be taken away and now I've got all the space. How is that experience for you?
It's
How are you finding it?
It's also, is that space so big that you feel like I need to take something from the past and cover that big space?
Yeah, it's not. It's not. I don't feel like there's a void. It's about when on this cool Mandela on there. I also feel that this hill or this mountain is other mountain.
There's another one.
So I don't really go back. Whatever, like some of whatever I live for that I might have lost. But I'm just picking up on again. Not naked like I just pick anything for that disadvantages that I need to have. So that gets up out of my head, I can look to the night. Because we are growing, we're not going back.
We're going forward.
Going forward. So so the space I'm in, I think, is one of the greatest space I have. Because now I know how to control my medium, I know how to control my time, I know how to do everything in my own space. So there's a less distractions. And I'm finding it very peaceful. Is very peaceful. So I'm like, okay, I need to be here. Because the plan I have here on it, like now I need to get back to studies. I need to do what. When I edit, I don't need a lot of noise. I don't need phone calls. I don't need all the So it's a better because now I'm able to spend time with myself.
Exactly.
And I'm able to discover something that I didn't know I had. Like, I can edit faster now. Yeah. I can do poster faster now. Because now it's something that you practice. I'm like, okay, how do I grow from this? So you get hands there. So I don't find it very disruptive. I'm actually lovely that there's a lot that I've removed. I'm grateful for whatever that was. I'm grateful, it's part of my life. It is what it is, but I'm not mostly there. And I'm still a man of a culture. When I go home, I need to do what needs to be done culturally, so traditionally, so I do it. Morally, so I'm not. So
I see. We need to close.
Going back to
can't be going back.
Going back to good male singers.
Yeah.
And how you guys addressed gentlemen. I want to say, based on these responses that gentlemen has given, I think those are traits of leaders.
Yeah.
Because if you look at leaders from managers, and like all types of leaders, all proactive leaders, they possess or maybe they practice that similar lifestyle.
Yes.
Peace. Like peace, aloneness, quietness, focus. I don't think you would find any CEO who comes back from work at 5. I don't think you'd find any CEO sitting on TikTok from 5 up until 9. I'm just, on social media. I mean, most high-profile people who are focused, maybe like, we're talking about David Collins.
Yeah.
Do you honestly think that David sits on TikTok for like 6 hours? No.
It's like inclusive. Knowing your strength. Once you know your strength, once you know a passion, once you know the inner person inside of you, we always ignite all these things that don't really matter.
In closing, Kingship, thank you for this beautiful conversation. For me, like you said, yellow. I think yellow impacted me today.
Yeah, man.
Rest
You're
is so-
man.
Yeah, like, I think he also impacted me.
Missed, yeah, very missed.
I think for me, he also impacted me because, in closing, for me, losing everything and finding myself. Pointers from both of you. Focus now.
Exactly.
Focus now, execution, and a clearer space in terms of energies, people that I engage with. I mean, I don't even know how many people I engage with now, but mainly focus and understanding for me to get there. There's certain things that cannot come with me to that point.
To that point.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, new routines. This new routine is definitely going to help me get there. You know, this routine, for me to get there, I need to have this plan. And now this plan, Sapo is not featured in this plan. Who and who is not featured in this plan? And if I have these people on this plan, chances are that I'm not going to get there.
You're going there.
But Motlatsi is featured in this plan. Zwino is featured on this plan. And then this is the routine. I would say this is, for me, finding self has got to be being close to the higher power. Like you mentioned, God exists. Higher power, my belief system in check, and having that.
Yeah.
Thanks.